Good morning. Welcome to worship at First Church Belmont Unitarian Universalist. We begin this morning, as we begin every Sunday, with the chalice lighting. Please join me in saying, life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and mysteries of this great gift.
Hello, I'm Jackie James. I'm a member of the worship committee here at the First Church in Belmont. This month, the worship committee is thinking about resilience in the face of these turbulent times. Helen Keller once said, "Although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming of it." In that spirit, I offer the following poem by David White called Sweet Darkness. It was published in a book, The House of Belonging. Sweet darkness. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. When your vision has gone, no part of the world can find you. It's time to go into the dark where the night has eyes to recognize its own. There you can be sure that you're not beyond love. The dark will be your home tonight. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. You must learn one thing. The world was made to be free in. Give up all the worlds except the one to which you belong. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you.
Once upon a time, there was an inventor who was also a chemist, who was also a biologist. He was kind of a scientist through and through. His mind was always creating things, and he loved two things more than anything else. Well, three things. First, science, but then also he loved this tiny, fluffy little teddy bear hamster who he cherished. He loved holding the fluffy teddy bear hamster, nuzzling up into its soft, soft fur. And he also loved running, particularly first thing in the morning when the air was cool and fresh and the birds were just starting to sing. And so it was that one day, his little fluffy teddy bear hamster was a little bit sick. And he had never really had a pet before, certainly had never loved a pet before like this. And he had all sorts of strange feelings creep in when his teddy bear hamster was sick, feelings he didn't exactly really want to have. Fear crept all over him, and then as his teddy bear hamster got sicker and then eventually died, he had all sorts of hard feelings. And he was sad, and then he was mad, and then he was confused, and all sorts of things. And he was so distracted that he wasn't even thinking about his science and his inventions anymore. And he wasn't even wanting to run anymore. It just was so distracting and so strange feeling. He decided he didn't want to have any of these feelings. And so he decided he would invent something. And so the first part of it was he created this helmet with bunches of screens all the way through that would distract him with images of other things that he loved. He decided that he would have this on basically all the time so he wouldn't have to think and he wouldn't have to feel and he wouldn't have to remember his fluffy, tiny friend. And this worked for a while. He found that his mind was distracted. There was plenty going on in the world to distract him. And there was also plenty of ideas that he was working on. And so he had this distraction around him all the time. And then he had the strangest sensation. The sadness had crept into his body somehow. And all of his arms and legs were feeling things too. So in addition to the helmet, he created a whole suit of armor, kind of a whole robot body almost. And he had different little sensory apparati all throughout the rest of the body so that his body wouldn't feel that grief either. And of course, the strange thing was that with a helmet and now the armor all the way across his body, he couldn't really run the way he used to first thing in the morning. But he didn't even want to think about that. He just so distracted that first thing he just put on the helmet, put on the armor so he wouldn't have to think, wouldn't have to feel. And then this one morning, he must have left the window open just a little bit. Somehow, he was startled awake by the frantic flapping of wings. A tiny little bird had come into his room and was frantically trying to fly around, and he woke up startled and he saw the bird, and he opened all of the windows in his room wide, and he helped the bird fly out to safety. And when the bird was out, he took a deep breath, and he could feel the cool air, and he heard the bird's song outside. And with a little bit of a clench on his heart, he looked over and he saw the helmet and he saw the armor. He decided not to put them on. Instead, he put on his running stuff. And he came outside, he stretched, and he started to run. And he felt the cool air on his body. He heard those bird songs, and it felt so beautiful and so good and so true. And then he felt this deep sadness come in on him. He could almost feel his heart breaking, but he kept running. And he felt the strangest thing. He felt his heart break and then still keep beating. He remembered his fluffy friend. He remembered all those feelings, all that love, and he felt this sadness and grief, and he felt so many things as he kept running through it. And he came all the way home, and he stretched, and he had some cool water, and he sat on those front stoop, and he felt again the sensation of his heart breaking, and he felt again his heart continue to beat. And we tell you this story especially today because these are hard times that we're facing. We're stretched to the breaking and we're stretched past it sometimes. But the most remarkable thing is that somehow we persist. Somehow our hearts keep beating. There's so much room for all of the feelings that come with a complicated time like this one.
I want more religion, Lord, I want more religion, Lord, I want more religion to help me unto God. I want more religion, Lord, I want more religion, Lord, I want more religion to help me unto God. Religion makes me happy, and then I wanna go to leave this world of sorrow and trouble here below. Let me walk more like Jesus. Let me walk more like Jesus. Let me walk more like Jesus to help me unto God. I'm walking with my Lord in this old sinful world. Someday He'll take me home, and I'll walk with Him above. I want more religion, Lord. I want more religion. I want more religion to help me unto God.
Hi friends. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Katya Novin, and I have a poem to share with you called Blessing for the Brokenhearted. It's by Jan Richardson. Let us agree for now that we will not say the breaking makes us stronger, or that it's better to have this pain than to have done without this love. Let us promise we will not tell ourselves time will heal the wound when every day our waking opens it anew. Perhaps for now it can be enough to simply marvel at the mystery of how a heart so broken can go on beating as it were made for precisely this, as if it knows the only cure for love is more of it, as if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still as if it trusts. That its own persistent pulse is the rhythm of a blessing we cannot begin to fathom, but it will save us nonetheless.
Though days be dark with storms and burdens weigh my heart, troubles wait at every turn. I know I can go on when sorrow heals my soul and burdens make me strong. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. My sister in my heart, my brother in my song. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. And though the journey's long, the destination is near. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. So brothers, take my hand, and sisters, sing my song. When hope awaits at every turn, I know we will go on.
My wife Lauren is very wise. And as we were talking recently, strategizing about how we face this time as a team, talking about how we are, about how our kids are, she remembered this moment. We are very lucky to have this incredible organization, the Unitarian Universalist College of Social Justice, which helps lead learning and service trips for people of all ages. We will go on some soon at First Church. Lauren had just completed a week-long trip visiting an incredible group of women in Nicaragua called Fundación Entre Mujeres, Foundation Between Women, also called FEM. The journey went from Managua deep into the countryside, seeing this intricate and beautiful organization which works tirelessly for the empowerment of women all throughout the country. It was an incredible week, meeting so many amazing women who had created this beautiful, impactful organization which was changing the lives of women and communities all throughout the country. And as the week was winding down and the group was preparing for their journey home, one of the facilitators invited the group to not think about what they wanted to do, but who they wanted to be. There is a tendency coming out of experiences like that, thinking about things to do, projects to create, solutions to offer, fixes, remedies. But the invitation was not to ask what to do, but rather who you want to be. And my genius wife was mentioning that here in this moment, at this time, when we are faced with so many tasks, with so many questions about the doings of our days. How do we get food? How do we occupy the kids? How do we support their education? How do we do our jobs? How do we manage stress? How many walks does it make sense for the dog to realistically request in one day? There are so many questions of doing. But her invitation then, and my invitation to us all now, is to consider, who do I most long to be in the midst of this all? And the question stops me in my tracks. Because who I most long to be in this moment is woven with and is also entirely different than my answer to all those other questions. Who and how I long to be in this moment and in my life is one of those guiding questions, one of those North Star type questions, which when remembered helps everything else kind of fall into alignment. As some of you know, in times like these, I reach for a trusty little manual, a collection of teachings from the Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron called When Things Fall Apart. In all sorts of different crises, I've reached for this book and read it slowly, daily. And recently, one little glimmering bit of wisdom just leapt out at me. She writes, "Only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible within us be found." I love this, especially now, with so much loss, with so much suffering. I want to find that indestructibility. I want some kind of superpower, to be bitten by a spider, or visiting my cousin the chemist to have some kind of opportune spill of some experimental recipe that somehow gives me stronger than this very human stuff I now possess. But the paradox is that our indestructibility is actually our destructibility. The fact that we are broken down and built back up again. The fact that we face heartbreak and stretching of this very human life, that we rise again, breathing, that somehow the heart still loves, still beats, still pumps blood, that your ears are now hearing these words, that your eyes see me now. This is why I love the poem that we heard earlier, when she invites us to simply marvel at the mystery of how a heart so broken can go on beating. As if it were made for precisely this, as if it knows that the only cure for love is more of it, as if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still. We persist, we survive, and somehow, even still, we create and recreate our lives and our beings. We return to who we most deeply, most truly long to be. There have been so many lists and tips of how to face this time, hacks of how to work from home while raising kids, how to make masks out of t-shirts, and so on. But maybe we could simplify it. Maybe we just need to ask ourselves, who and how do we most deeply long to be in this time and in this life? Not that it's a simple question, or perhaps it is. Perhaps we just make it complicated. Maybe it's an invitation to reflect on when you have felt most joy and most peace, most purpose, most flow. Maybe it's an invitation to imagine you were able to sneak into your funeral. What do you hope that people will say? These somehow point us to who we most deeply long to be. For me, I long to serve. I want to help people connect with what they know most deeply to be true. I want to be a father whose children know that they are precious and loved. I want to be a father who is available and present to his kids, though perhaps a little less present than at this moment, but still present. I want to be a husband whose love creates a foundation for his beloved to soar and to thrive. I want to be a husband whose beloved knows in the bones of her bones that she is cherished and loved. I want to be a source of hope and joy in this world. This is my indestructible. And as is true with every ideal, with every goal, I will sometimes fall short of this. I will be almost exactly the opposite of these things at times, but I will return to them. And this I can wrap my head around in this complex moment when so much is swirling, when there is so much overwhelm, so many feelings, so much news, so many deaths. When it is just too much, I return to this. Who do I long to be? And what does that mean for these next choices in front of me? For these next moments? We are not indestructible. We are gloriously destructible. We are infinitely destructible and infinitely rebuildable. Dear First Church, know that you are a gift in this moment. Know that who you long to be is who this world desperately needs. Know that within you is this indestructible, this beautiful truth, this precious gift of your deepest and truest self. And this gift is all you need to be, now and always. In this time of suffering, in this time of annihilation, may we find what is indestructible within us. May we hear and feel our broken hearts beating, refusing to succumb. May we feel this cure, this power, this love here still, thriving still, this day and always. Amen.